episode of Let's Talk Movies. Today, we're talking about 300 starring Gerard Butler with John, me,
as always.
My name's Nate, if you didn't know that, and we brought Gavin back to talk about this movie. Whenever we do movies that are like ancient stuff, we always make sure to get Gavin on.
Yep.
Today, Gavin is going to react using his background as a classics major and gives us his reaction on one of the most controversial, from a historical standpoint, like the historical accuracy.
They weren't going for historical accuracy.
Ancient movies of all time. It's going to be explosive. It's going to be fun. You're not going to want to miss it. So let's go ahead and dive into the review.
Yep.
What do you got for us, John?
The plot premise. So we'll go ahead and get the premise of the movie. So, I mean, this movie is set in, I think, from what I looked up, it's set in 480 BC, around that time. And, which, that sounds right, yeah. And then that's just what I looked up. Yeah. And, 480 BC is the setting of this movie, and it's about King Leonidas, who is the king of Sparta, which I guess is one of the, like a Greek tribe is what they refer to. It's like, city-state, whatever. City-state. Anyway, he's the king of Sparta. And, they're getting into kind of a war with the Persians, and he wants to go to war because to fight the Persians with the whole army, but the council has been bribed, and they do not consent, and so instead he just has to take his 300 bodyguards, as he calls them, these ripped Greek Spartan dudes that could do some serious damage. I mean, just look at this. I mean, if you can see that, that's King Leonidas. Anyway, so King Leonidas takes his 300 Spartans into battle against the Persians, and where they face certain destruction, because I mean it's like 300 against over 1 million or something, according to what they say in the movie. Well, I don't know what it was in real life. But
and according to what they say in The Last Samurai.
Yeah, no, it's what it is. Yeah. Anyway,
good historical source there.
So Leonidas and the 300 go to battle with the massive Persian army of King Xerxes, and they fight a battle that ends up inspiring all of Greece. And causes the Greeks to kind of unite at the end of the movie. And back at home, there's a lot of storylines going on with his wife, the queen. I'm forgetting her name, but the queen. I don't know if they were going to say her name. Anyway, the queen.
He always just calls her my queen.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So anyway, what is her name? Hold on. For real though, what is her name? I actually don't know.
Pause, everyone.
Hold up.
Queen Gorgo.
Gorgo.
That's why they never said her name. They're like, that doesn't
So
work.
basically, while they're off at battle, there's some storylines that are going on back at home with the queen and some stuff going on.
We gotta make sure.
Queen Gorgo.
I'm getting confused.
All right. So Geo. I don't know how she pronounced it.
That sounds like
Georgia? I don't know.
Yeah. So that's what this movie's about. 300.
Yep, that's right.
And we go specs.
Let's just quick fire some specs.
I usually try to go as fast as possible. So this movie came out, or we'll first go with director. It was directed, of course, by
Zach
Snyder. Feels like he's like one of those directors that like most people know of these days because he's so distinct. And he also did
he has a very distinct style. He's made a lot of big movies. You know what I mean? But not all of his movies. I remember why we didn't do this now.
Because it fades out and stuff.
Yeah, we got it. But not all of his movies have been good.
No.
Like,
I haven't seen.
We can talk about this later. I'm not a fan of Man of Steel. Except for the first 20 minutes, which is really good. But the rest of it sucks. Batman vs. Superman is one of the most diarrhea on the screen films I've ever seen in my life. To this day, Noah likes it for some reason. I always give him heck about liking that movie.
Really?
Yeah, but anyway, that's just. But Zack Snyder does have a lot of good movies, and we'll talk about.
I think this is my favorite out of his. I have not seen Justice League or the 4 hour.
Justice League is also a diarrhea movie, but it's not entirely
the
Zack
4 hour
Snyder's
version.
fault.
The 4 hour version.
No, like, that's the thing. I haven't seen the Zack Snyder cut, and so that's also there's like Josh Whedon, and then there's like the DC headquarters being
they only had a 2
crazy.
Anyway, we won't get too much into that.
Right.
Other movies. This is a pretty good movie. Anyway, so Zack Snyder directed this movie. Yeah, he also wrote the screenplay with a couple guys named Kurt Johnstad and Michael B. Gordon. They based their screenplay on a graphic novel, also called 300, by a guy named Frank Miller and Lynn Varley. Frank Miller's a pretty famous graphic artist, or not graphic artist, graphic novel artist. He wrote, there's a pretty famous movie called Sin City that came out. That's based on also a graphic novel that he wrote. Anyways, yeah, based on a graphic novel by Frank Miller and Lynn Varley. It was produced by Gianni Nannari, Mark Kenton, Bernie Goldman, and Jeffrey Silver. As Nate said, it stars Gerard Butler as King Leonidas. It also stars Lena Headey as the Queen, or Queen Gorgo. David Wenham as Pelios? Is that his name? The guy who tells the story.
I think Pelios is the other guy's son.
Hold on, let me find David Wenham, Dilios.
The one-eyed man.
Yeah, the one-eyed man who tells the story to the people back in Greece, which is, as we'll talk about, that's kind of a framing device because it's supposed to be like he's embellishing the story and stuff. Anyway, David Wenham played Faramir in
Very well.
Lord of the Rings, yeah. And then obviously it has a guy named Dominic West plays Theron, who is the corrupt official that tries to manipulate the queen. So he honestly wasn't that bad. We can talk about him later. But and it was cinematography was by a guy named Larry Fong. It was edited by William Hoy. The music was by I've never heard of this guy, Tyler Bates, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't like super memorable. There was a lot of rock music used. And we'll talk about that. The production companies were Legendary Pictures, Virtual Studios.
Can Legendary make a bad movie?
I mean, the Legendary Pictures, Virtual Studios, and Atmosphere Pictures. It was distributed by Warner Brothers. It was released in December of 2006 at a film festival. That was when it premiered. But it went wide in March.
Why did you just look back at his ad? Impressive. Gavin was like, really? 2006? Let me confirm that. Yep,
so anyway,
2006.
So it premiered at a film festival on December 9th, 2006, and went wide in March 9th, 2007 in the U.S. It has a running time of just under 2 hours at 117 minutes. English is the primary language, even though we're in a different part of the world. And it had a pretty big budget, $60 million, and it made $456 million. It made back its budget in a lot more.
All right, Gavin,
positives.
We always like to on this channel. We're polite. We're gentlemen. We like to let the guests go first. Plus, Gavin's got all the insight.
You know how we do.
He's got all the inside intel. He's got all the bangers. He's ready to hit you with them. Gavin, what's your biggest positive about 300?
About the movie.
I don't know about my biggest positives. The testosterone boost at the end is just wild. You're just like, it's like really late right now, right?
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know.
It's
1 in the morning and I'm like hype.
Yeah.
I'm not even on coffee right now.
Noah watched the movie with us.
Yeah. Shout out to Noah.
Yeah, shout out. Yeah, he's not going to do the film with us because we're weirdos and he doesn't like us that much. But he called it visual
steroids.
Visual steroids.
That's so accurate. Just because of like all the epic one-liners and the rock music. It feels like I'm working out even though I'm not working out. And there's like the fight scenes are legendary. There's so many of them.
What's your favorite part about the fight scenes? Like the style, the choreography, or like
the choreography's pretty good. I just really I don't know. It's just something about half-naked dudes just like slashing each other.
No homo question mark?
Whoa, not the fact. I'm gonna stop. Yeah, they are incredibly muscular, but that's the point. Yeah, I don't know. That sticks out to me. That somehow this movie is just like.
Which one was your favorite of the battle scenes?
The Immortals.
The one that one is pretty sick.
The one where it's like dark.
Because I love that one because the Spartans take hits, but then they get through it. Because like in all the other battles, the Spartans either dominate.
Except the last one where they
right. So like in all the other ones, they dominate, and then there's that one where they get destroyed because they're surrounded on all sides. But that's the only battle where they take some and they dish it too.
Yeah, because the Immortals are actually kind of decent fighters.
Yeah,
but for some reason they don't have shields.
But it's like cool. They're like opposite warriors. Like one is like no clothes. Yeah. Spears. The other's like lots of clothes.
And they have like
clothes everywhere. And then like weird samurai swords.
And we're getting some really high IQ.
Yeah.
Like
So one of your big positives is the battle scenes and just like the testosterone levels. Like
yeah, for sure.
Okay. What about you, Nate?
So here's what I'll say about 300. 300 is a very simple movie.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't try to be anything it's not. So we could sit here and pick apart nitpicks and like the historical inaccuracies and the all this stuff like this. And the thing is that 300 has these things in spades. It does, but the movie makes me want to overlook all of that.
It does.
Because it's not pretentious. It's not trying to be something it's not. And in this day and age, it's carrying a message that I think we honestly need. It's so refreshing to me, and this is where I'll land as far as the positive, how the movie is so unashamedly black and white.
That's so
like
true.
The good guys, they're brave, they're they're strong, they're they're freaking warriors, they're noble, they're fighting for freedom. On the other side, they're just like total degenerates. They are just the worst. They want to just slaughter whole villages and rape women and have orgies, and that's all they want to do. And as Gavin will tell you later on, this is not historically accurate. This is not the way the Greeks and the Persians were. But we need stories like that. Stories like that. I mean, there's a place for gray stories. But our society has become so like morally convoluted. Like we're like, oh, what's even right and wrong? And stories like this ground you back on like, hey, this is right. This is wrong. I can remember this because of these great and evocative stories. And so that's my big positive for it.
Just like how it's the simplicity in that they embrace the simplicity.
Yeah, they embrace the simplicity, and it makes you want to overlook the flaws.
It brings up a comparison in my mind of like Troy. Like we've watched that movie and it's just like super overcomplicated. Tons of stuff.
I think me and Nate like that movie a little bit more than you. But
probably, but it just overpromises a lot and it tries to explain too much.
I think we can all agree that 300 is better than Troy.
Oh yeah. By far.
I agree that I think that 300 is better than Troy.
By so much.
I don't know.
Which would be embarrassing.
I think they're honestly. I would put them in the same category. Same rating. Probably.
Well, you have to explain that later.
When I get my room.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So you want to go ahead and hit your positive?
So I wanted to bounce off yours real quick because I was going to use that too. I really enjoyed how it's just like. They don't have to give a lot of background. Like, they just do the basic explaining of the situation. They're honestly able to do a really good job of explaining a lot without saying a lot. Because at the beginning of the movie, you just kind of get the feel that they're in a war with the Persians. It just kind of has that atmosphere that's, like, very brooding. And then the Persian messenger shows up, and it obviously kicks into gear. Right. And it gets going really fast.
It does.
Like, this movie doesn't waste any time. It's just, like, it has the opening sequence of him growing up and going through, like, the trials. And then it's, like, he's king, and he's, like, ready to, like, kick butt. And he's not messing around. And they go to war. Like, within, like, 20 minutes of the movie, they're, like, already fighting and stuff. And so I just like how it gets into gear really quick. And and like I said, it doesn't have to waste a lot of time on exposition. Nope. It tells a lot without saying a lot of words. Bro. Yeah, there's no fat to this movie.
There's not even, like, there's not a map. They don't put a date underneath. They don't help you out at all.
I wanted to get to that because I remember you said something when we were talking about historical accuracy when it comes to Troy. You said, I had a long leash for Troy. Because it's a movie. But then they put a date on it.
And it's like,
And then he said my leash got a whole lot tighter.
This movie embraces its fictional aspects much better.
They never put a date on it.
Troy did, I will say.
They never put a date on it. And so I feel like your leash is going to be a little bit longer.
I'm like, because they're not saying it's factual.
Oh, man.
And I think even the movie makes space for that. To say that this guy could be lying about this whole story.
And there's stuff in that because, like, he wasn't there for parts of the story he tells, logically. And so he cannot know.
So he doesn't know. The movie that gives you that freedom to think, oh, this could be historically accurate, and it's just this guy lying the whole time.
And that's going to be my other positive. But to finish up real quick on what I was saying, I just really enjoy. I think this movie's the perfect length. Not even 2 hours. It's just under 2 hours. It's not. It could have been this long, like, more epic in length type of movie where they like have to set everything up. But no, it's just we're going. Right? The movie's going and we're fighting epic battles and it's over in under 2 hours.
Is there an extended cut, bro?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not that's been released. And there's
I think that I was trying to think of an analogy to describe what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes a movie will bite off way too more than it can chew? Like,
Alexander.
I think which one?
Alexander.
Oh yeah. It bites off more than it can chew, and it spends the whole movie just going and it can't get through all the material. I feel like, on the other hand, 300, which bites off less than it can chew,
Yeah.
and then chews it like so good.
Good.
Now, I think there are two primary reasons that this movie is just so get up and go, and it's so effective. One, it was based on a graphic novel. It's not based on like a history textbook.
No.
It's based on a very heavily fictionalized account of the battle written in graphic novel form, which honestly I would be curious to read. I think it would be pretty interesting to read. I'd like to read it. But so that went, it's not based on some kind of long historical account or some like biography or something or whatever. And second, it's directed by Zach Snyder.
Yeah.
Zach Snyder, most of his movies kind of just get to the chase. I mean, they're
except Batman vs Superman, which is so long.
Yeah. He's not like a Ridley Scott. Not that we love Ridley Scott, but he's not like those type of directors. But he's doing a historical movie here that's based on history, but it has his distinctive flair to it, and he's not worried about having to like set up all the history and stuff. It's just like, we're going to be fighting some battles. That's what this movie's about. Let's just go do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just really well directed movie, which is my big positive I was going to go into.
I have a question though. Mm-hmm. Like, is this all green screen?
Basically, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically,
but my big first positive, I was bouncing off yours, but my first big positive is the directing.
Right.
I love just the style of this movie. And it embraces its style and it doesn't like stray from it. It has that same tone. It has the same stylistic elements. All the battles have the very cool like slow-mo shots, and it doesn't make them too cheesy or anything. Like, it's still believable. Like, it's real gory and stuff, but because it needs to be. And I just really love that Snyder like chose a style and he stuck with it. He didn't try to do a bunch of different things and combine it into one. I just really think this movie was very well directed.
Tone was consistent.
Yeah, Zack Snyder did an excellent job directing this movie.
I agree. This movie, it's like, how some people, I keep using analogies today.
That's good.
Some people have flaws which like are irritating and get on your nerves. And then other people have flaws that are like cute and endearing. I feel like that's the way that 300 is. There's so many flaws, but like it's so.
It's like, aww.
It's like it makes you like the movie more somehow. I don't know why. But,
like the cheesy kind of background, like green screen vibe.
Well, we can get into it in the negatives, but like. Like when we talk about the historical inaccuracy, like I feel with a lot of times we're like,
let's save that for the historical section.
Of course.
We don't like to mix it.
But to get on to what you were saying, Zack Snyder does a great job. I agree, John.
Yeah.
And he keeps the tone consistent. He knows what he wants to do with this movie. They have a clear path and they hit it.
It's like the opposite of Alexander.
Exactly.
Like in terms of like the mixture, like Oliver Stone when doing that, he just wanted to put everything and it just all gets cluttered. This movie is so like tidy. Is the word I would use.
And another way we can compare it is that Alexander is so gay and this movie is so manly.
Yeah, this is like honestly, I think like the most masculine movie ever made.
Yes,
just to
absolutely.
But anyway, what's another positive of yours other than just like the epic battles and stuff? You seem to be liking some of the one-liners. You got those one-liners.
One-liners are really great. The music was really fun.
Yeah,
I really liked the music.
I will say,
and like you had said, it was kind of like, I don't know, it like made those moments really cool. It like gave me like the Doom. Like the Doom game vibes of them just like slashing through stuff, and it was like the electric was going in the back, and that was just like that was really.
He knew when to use the electric though.
I know it was only used like 2 or 3 times.
It wasn't too much, and it wasn't for too long.
Yeah, I know.
And it wasn't too much. It was just like some like electric guitar just going crazy in the back.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's just
epic. I kind of like the costumes.
Okay.
You mean lack thereof?
And depending on. Specifically for, like, I don't know, the Immortals costume is sick.
Ooh, yeah.
The Persian, I mean, these guys,
creepy masks.
Their costume is actually really sick. Like, it's just, like, that helmet, that is so iconic. Yeah. You know? I feel, did this movie make this iconic?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I feel like that,
100%.
yeah, this movie is responsible for, like, 100%. Making that, like, really iconic.
And this movie is responsible also for, like, making the word Spartan anonymous with... Just
Gerard Butler.
Yes, but like kick butt.
Yeah.
Like
I think that one thing this movie did, and I think you'll agree with this, is unlike Alexander. I remember one of your big complaints was they don't show the warrior side of Greeks.
Yeah.
This movie, that's like
really
the big part of this movie.
Really up front.
I know. Yeah, it's like these guys are beasts.
Can I also
in the dialogue too? They talk about it, how like Spartans are just different. Like they're just like the famous like, what is your profession? It's just like ooh,
that's
you
so
know.
Cool.
I mean,
that's so cool. I think I will say also, I don't think the historical accuracy is a negative for me.
It's
Like,
never
it's
a
just
negative
not.
for me. It's just.
I think they get some stuff enough right that it's like
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like-
I think. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say when you're writers,
Right.
when they're using proper form, what they'll. So like, there's this debate that always goes around about should we break quote unquote writing rules or not? Should you always abide by writing rules or should you break them? And here's what I think the best way to approach this is that if you understand a rule, you can break it. If you can color inside the lines, then you can color on the outside. And so what I'm trying to tie this into here, because most movies get historical inaccuracy wrong because they just can't. They don't know how.
Right.
You get the impression that they knew.
they could have.
They knew, but they didn't for a reason.
That's so true.
I think that this movie was set up since it's based on a graphic novel, and the way they framed the story, it's set. And y'all kind of touched on this. It's set up where it doesn't set itself up to be criticized for historical inaccuracies because it's never claiming to be the true story of what actually happened. Because the biggest reason is because the guy is telling a story, and so most of the battle he didn't even see. He's just told to go tell what he says. Tell our story, and and he's telling. Obviously, you can assume it's an embellished version. That's why there's like demons and stuff, basically that they're fighting, and the big weird creatures that have cut off the Persian general's head.
But then what is the point? Like, the point is that we remember this story.
Yeah, I know,
And so, like, Americans are going to remember this story because of how it's been told.
Builds on that. That's a theme, is remember us. And to remember us, sometimes there needs to be some embellishment.
A little bit of embellishment.
So
I can forgive them for embellishing.
That's why. I think that, I think that's why.
And I actually think we can get, I want to just gloss over this because this is a themes kind of thing, but I love the morals of this movie, actually.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a set of morals that we desperately need in our society right now, for sure. But do y'all have any more?
Oh yeah, I have a couple more positives. I only got to give one. I would say I love the. I'll just echo y'all. The battle scenes are epic. I agree with all of those points. The battle scenes are epic. The music is solid. The music's actually very underrated.
It complements
the music's underrated
so well.
I didn't remember I liking the music so much. But anyway, my other big positive is just like it gets me fired up. Like it's just, I think that was just kind of your first big positive. Was basically this movie gets you fired up and hyped. Like watching this movie is just like it's fun to watch. It's just it gets you excited. It gets you invested early. Like you're on the side of Leonidas. Like these guys. I love how it has the council. It shows that they were bribed right at the beginning because it gets you more on Leonidas' side. Yeah. Like you just hate those guys even more, and you want Leonidas to go kick butt to show them what's up.
Yeah.
I mean. And I just love that part of the movie. But yeah, this movie's just fun to watch, and it's like gets you invested and it gets you hyped. You want them to kick the Persian's butt, So that's just another big positive.
I wonder if the movie wanted us to like Leonidas more or Sparta more.
Okay. Wow.
Well,
because I feel like the when we walked away, like main culture just likes Sparta after watching this movie, but I think the movie wanted us to like Leonidas.
Yeah,
it did want us to like Leonidas, but I feel like it's tied up because Leonidas' motivations are so closely associated with Sparta.
Yeah. I feel like he is Sparta. He's kind of like the embodiment.
He is the Senate.
Right.
He is Sparta.
I mean, we can't ignore that. There's a guy who basically said, "I am the Senate" in this movie.
There was.
Yeah.
There was a couple Star Wars.
The corrupt politician.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to get your thoughts, Nate, on the screenplay because I just wanted to hear what you thought because I know you are always interested in the structure of movies. I was
saying the same thing.
So first of all, we got to give you their names so you can address them. Hold on.
Oh my gosh.
Zach Snyder,
of course.
Kurt Johnstad, and Michael B. Gordon.
Michael B. Gordon?
It's almost Jordan, but it's not.
All right, here's what I think about this screenplay. I think about it the same way I think about a lot of the film, which is that it knows what it's doing. It has no flab. And it's unapologetically...
There is no flab.
There is no flab. It is unapologetically what it is.
Yeah.
I love that part about it.
And that's the screenwriters. I mean, they've been going at it. They knew what they wanted.
The flavor.
Not just the director, but the screenwriters. Although the director was one of the screenwriters.
Now, the one-liners are not the most genius thing that man has ever created. We can talk about that later. Now, most of them land.
I would agree.
A couple of them don't.
Which thankfully, I guess, for the negative.
But like even that, it's hard to criticize because they're just so sincere. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? None of it is tongue in cheek.
I would say the majority of them land.
Yeah.
Like, most of these ones get me fired up.
Every now and then I was like,
there were a
like the one where he's like, it was an honor to die with you, and he's like, it was an honor to have lived with you. And it's like, I don't know.
I like that one. That was good.
It
was a little bit contrived.
That felt like they were digging at the bottom of the one-liner.
Then again, though, I'm shocked. I'm honestly shocked that you didn't like that because you love the line in The Last Samurai where he says, "I shall tell you how he lived."
Well, okay,
it seems very similar.
That was organic, though.
Okay,
that was organic.
It seems very similar
because, and I'll tell you why that was organic, just very briefly. Because the entire point is that he was supposed to reinvigorate them about the samurai culture.
We're talking about The Last Samurai here,
right? And these movies are similar in a way because he's the messenger character, right? And so when he says, "And I will tell you how he lived," what he's saying is that it's not important that they're dead. What's important is that you carry on their legacy, and it's important to the movie itself. Like if you would have taken that line out, the movie wouldn't have made sense. Yeah. And if you would have taken that line out, the movie would have made total sense. Like that was just in there to sound cool.
Yeah. Let's each give our favorite one on it. My favorite one is the one where he says, "This is where we hold them. This is where when they die. Let's take from them everything." Not really a one-liner, but kind of a speech he gives. What was your favorite, like,
I can tell you mine.
What was yours?
He's like, "Oh, well," to set it up, he's like, Xerxes is talking to Leonidas, and he's he's trying to like kind of seduce him into surrendering, and he's like, "Oh, we can share our cultures and stuff," and he's like, "Well, we've been sharing our culture with you all morning," meaning that they've been killing all the versions. It's cheesy, but it's so good. I love that one, and what makes it even better, just like the chef's kiss with the cherry on top, is the fact that he says it in the most thick Irish accent, or he thinks Scottish, the thick Scottish accent of all time, so he sounds just 0% Greek. He's just like, "We've been sharing our culture with you all morning."
That is one thing about this movie. They didn't try to hide the accents. They speak.
We can talk about that later.
Anyway,
I don't know if that's a negative.
What was your favorite?
I've only seen it once. This is the first time I've seen it, so I don't really remember all the lines. I mean, this is Sparta.
I mean, that's the acting. That's what
I know what your favorite one is. And tonight we die.
That was a banger. That was a banger.
Thanks, you're really good at those. But anyway, I just wanted to touch real quick. The battle scenes, I mean, God, they are so good, dude. Like, the fighting in this movie is just like, it's almost non-stop almost throughout the movie, throughout the certain portions of the movie. The middle part of the movie is like fighting just constantly. But it's so entertaining that you don't get tired of it. Like, all those, they intermix the slow-mo so well.
But they don't do too much.
I know, they don't do too much slow-mo, but they use just the right amount of slow-mo to
I was talking about the
keep it
battle
cool.
scenes.
Oh, yeah, no. But there's that middle part of the movie where it's like back-to-back-to-back battles. Yeah. They fight the first wave, push them off the cliff, fight the immortals.
It's always something new, though.
And then they fight the archers or whatever, the cavalry. Sorry, the cavalry. And then those battle scenes, all the battle scenes in this movie, they're just cool. Like, that's all I can say. They're amazing. And some of the best, battle scenes ever to be filmed.
For sure.
It's pretty crazy how they filmed though. Like I'd be so interested to see it behind the scenes.
Well, it's all green screen.
I know, for sure.
But they definitely spent that $60 million.
I mean, there's literally the scene where, there's just the background of the scene is the Greeks just killing those surviving Persians just so casually. They're just stabbing with spears.
Yeah. Anyway, my last positive is the editing in this movie is really slick.
It was good. Yeah.
Also, the acting was great, right?
Oh yeah,
I was going to touch on the acting.
Was really great.
Everyone, even though it's like a really everyone kept a straight face during this movie.
This is something I actually know a little bit of. I've done a little bit of research, specifically about actors and lifting. Like, I just want to say for like these guys, the shape they're in, if it's enhanced, if it's edited, I don't care. They are still in great shape for whatever. And being able to act swinging around a sword and a shield in with a heavy helmet and stuff, they didn't have anything else. But like all of that, that's hard. Mm-hmm. And they made it look awesome. They all look like freaking warriors.
I thought speaking of the acting though, the Queen did a really good. The actress who played the Queen, Lena Headey, who's actually pretty famous for being in Game of Thrones as Cersei.
She's a great job.
Yeah, she was my favorite. I mean, obviously Gerard Butler's a legend. I mean, this is what everybody remembers him for. But I think that she gives an underrated performance. I thought she just really does a good job of portraying this like woman who's like kind of caught in the middle. You know, she has to kind of sacrifice some of her like morals in order to like for her country, and she just really you can see the emotion in her face and stuff throughout the movie very well. And all of the side characters in the Greek army or in the 300 are also pretty good.
Yeah, the acting is good across the board. I feel like a criticism that might be levied at this movie is like that the characters are two-dimensional, and I would answer that yes. And
that's kind of
it's good.
I think all of those criticisms kind of go back to that you can kind of just defend the movie by saying they weren't going for anything bigger than that. Yeah. I mean, it's a very simple movie.
And it hits the mark. Yeah. So are you ready to slide into...
Yeah, I have a couple negatives.
Okay, yeah, so we got negatives. There's a lot of fun stuff to talk about in this movie, but...
I'm not sure see what you're...
Well, I have to say, there are some historical inaccuracies.
Yeah, but what...
That, like, I mean...
What about with the movie, though? Problems with like the movie.
Yeah, we'll go back
to the
we have a whole section for that. So what was like a problem you just had with the movie that you would do differently?
I don't know. I kind of liked it. I really did not hate this one. The other ones, I had so much.
Except Braveheart.
I'll get you started. The accents.
What? You didn't like those?
Bro, it's so funny.
It gave me Braveheart vibes.
It's so funny.
Except Braveheart's actually set in Scotland.
Like they just let wherever the actor's from, they get to talk like that.
You're fine.
Like there's British people, there's Scottish people, there's American people,
there's one guy with a really
African people, and then Cersei's voice is just in there like.
It was really weird. Speaking of like, it was really weird. So at the beginning, the Persian messenger is like a black dude, and there's several Persians that are just black guys, and then there's the guy that talks to Leonidas before the final battle.
Is like Middle Eastern.
Basically repeats Xerxes' speech, which is going to be a negative of mine. He actually looked like what I envision a Persian to be. Anyways, there's just all these different looking people playing.
I think that's actually historically accurate.
Well, here's their argument with that. They made it clear multiple times that it was an empire and that they controlled like 100 or so countries. Yeah.
Because they said the nations of Persia.
Having said that, I don't believe now. Gavin, you're the expert on this, but I don't believe that they had any holdings in like middle to southern Africa.
Well, I'm pretty sure at this point they have Egypt. So yeah, they actually are dipping in.
Right,
but Egyptians are not
like Egyptian people do not look like that.
They're not black.
They don't, but there are people with that pigment that live in Egypt at the time.
It's theoretical.
So yeah, I think it's theoretical. I think it's actually really theoretical.
Okay.
I mean.
But the accents are weird.
Everyone gets to talk in a different accent.
But I think that once again, I think with Gerard Butler though, I don't care with him. It's just still sick. Like I don't care what accent he's
so Scottish the whole time. He's from the Scottish part of Sparta. Yeah, it's really funny, and then his wife is just English.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, she's just. Yeah.
It's really weird.
Which I wanted to say. So one of my negatives is going to be the. Well, I'll say that negative, and you can respond to it.
Okay.
You had a different view on it. But anyway, Gavin, do you have a negative now?
No, keep going.
Oh, you want to give me mine? All right. So my biggest negative is the screenplay. Kind of. I don't want to say the whole screenplay because I like most of the one-liners and I think they're really well used. But I think it's very repetitive. I think and we can talk about how it's simple and stuff. But at some point, you don't need to repeat stuff so often. And they just repeat that theme of like freedom and like being remembered over and over and over in the screenplay, and I feel like it can get old after a while.
I actually think it's intentional because there's a mentor of mine who used to and still does say that memorization is repetition.
Yeah.
And so I think that they're just trying to hammer their message into your head.
I mean, yeah, I get that the movie.
Got it.
I get that the movie is very straightforward and simple, but I feel like there just could have been a little bit more complexity in some of the dialogue. Like even with some of like the dialogue between the Spartans, it's the same. It's almost the same thing, just in different words of them like being like the two guys that are like bros and they're like. I got your back. They say basically they have these conversations that are like the same basic conversation in different words throughout the movie, and and so I just wish there had been a little bit more to like the dialogue in this movie that would have maybe kind of spiced it up a little bit. Sure. That's one of mine. Yeah. And one of my specific problems was the the messenger who comes before the final battle, and he's like talking to Leonidas. He ends up getting killed, but the guy jumps out and like jumps over Leonidas' back and like or on Leonidas' back and like spears him. That guy literally gives the exact same speech that Xerxes gave earlier. And it was the exact same speech about how we can like share our cultures. You'll be set up as like a king again. And it was literally the exact same. And that was so repetitive to me.
Plus, you had forgotten what he had said.
Yeah.
He was like creepily massaging.
I know.
Leonidas'
I find it really surprising that they were still offering that all to him when they had him literally dead to rights. Like before, they were scared of him. They were like, "Dang, we might not be able to get through here." But then they were like, they had him surrounded. I guess they realized what was going. And this is something that might be a negative because before Gerard Butler was like, you better hope they're so stupid as to assassinate me because all of Greece is going to come. And then, at the end, they just kill him.
Yeah. And so, like,
why did they withhold killing him before if they were totally fine with killing him? I feel like they would have taken him prisoner.
They probably,
You know?
Mm.
I feel like they wouldn't have just killed the king of Greece. I feel like he would have been political leverage.
But he was killed in real life, so I mean...
That's true, but just like the way they set it up in the movie.
That's a really good point.
I think that... Did you finally think of any... I mean, it could be a
I'm
nitpick.
not honestly.
It could be a nitpick, bro.
I mean...
There was nothing...
I mean,
there was a
maybe
few
one
times you
thing.
cringed.
It's a little yellow.
Okay.
Like,
the screen's it is a little.
It's just a lot of yellow.
It's like wheat color the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time.
Yeah.
The style
kind of
is
fermented vibe. I don't know. I didn't. There were moments I really liked it, especially like right here. That looks so cool. But then there's moments that I was like, that's a lot of yellow.
Yeah, and a lot of yellow. I'll say this: I've seen this movie a lot of times. I realized this time that I've watched the edited for TV version.
Oh, really?
And this movie was so much longer and it had so much more stuff that was R-rated. And
this is a very R-rated movie, by the way.
Yeah, don't let anyone below 18 watch this movie.
I would say like 15. When did you see it first?
There are moments where I don't think I
saw the edited for TV version. And
what was edited? Like, what was something that was
all the orgies were out.
No, in the battles.
The sex scene with his wife was never in it.
Well, it's like edited probably.
Right, so the battles were all in it. Like, as far as violence and stuff, I saw them.